South Alabama goes with Major Applewhite as their new head coach. It's Locked On Sunbelt.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. I'm your host, Dave Schultz. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. If only there was something to talk about on all these episodes of the podcast. People are making it very easy. We'll go over the basketball games that happen on Wednesday night. We'll look ahead to Thursday night as well. But the big story of the day was Major Applewhite will be the new head coach of the South Alabama Jaguars. That came across, I may be able to see with my text messages a little quicker, just after 6:20 Central Time. And that means that's less than 48 hours since Kane Womack was reported to get the Alabama job. That was at about 9 p.m. on Monday. This is about 6:20 on Wednesday. And, Womack, announced his leaving on Tuesday. South Alabama did as well. And I'm sure Dr. Joel Urban, went through, I don't want to say went through the motions, but, checked to see if there was anybody better that they could get. And that's, you got a guy on staff with head coaching experience. You may be able to keep your defensive coordinator. That's big if Corey Batoon wants to stay there. And you can sort of keep the same process going, but again, it's very different. All right. Kane Womack, very different than Major Applewhite, or say it the other way around, right? Kane grew up, wanting to be this, was a good football player, but nothing like Major Applewhite. Big time college football player out of Baton Rouge, went to Texas, and has been coaching since. So maybe that's what he wanted to do. He wasn't quite good enough to go at it professionally. Actually, was the Syracuse quarterback coach shortly after being a GA for the Longhorns, coached Perry Patterson, in fact. So I think this is a good decision. It seems to be the easy decision, okay? If there was something wrong with, keeping Major, maybe Dr. Joel Urban would have been able to, find somebody better. But as far as I know, there's not. Again, we've talked about this, that Kane is very open, very confident in himself and his process. We'll see, if we hear anything different than Major is with his. But from someone who covered Major, and maybe it was just always because, he was the quarterback in high school, and then he was the quarterback in college, and then, the up-and-coming coach, and then it didn't go all that well at Houston. We'll get into that here momentarily. He's got I don't want to say shy, or paranoid, but concerned that, the media's out to get him when we're really not. And he very much so, between the first year, which would have been 21, and the second year, 22, he absolutely opened up more. He was, doesn't mind dishing it out, doesn't mind getting it a little bit as well. But you could definitely see there was a difference between Major Applewhite in his first year at South Alabama compared to his second year at South Alabama. And we'll see where staffing goes. Now they still need to hire about half the staff. All right, so they have their work cut out for them over the next couple of weeks. They still trying to, I don't know if you're going to go get the same guys that Kane was supposed to get. And here was always the big question, to be honest with you. Because a couple of years ago, maybe even last year, that Major Applewhite was up for some coordinating positions, maybe even Carolina, something along those lines. But the question was always, would Kane go with would Major go with Kane when he got a Power 5 job? or would Major take over when Kane left? It really wasn't an option that Kane was going to take a coordinator position with a Power 5 school. I mean, the Power 5 school, if you will, and leave a perfect opportunity for Major to take over at South Alabama. The players are all behind him, from Gio Lopez, the expected quarterback, to the now former quarterback Carter Bradley, Jaden Voisin, who was the safety who went into the transfer portal, came out of the transfer portal, wasn't happy that Kane Womack was leaving, and then did an Apple emoji tweet earlier on Wednesday. So it appears LaDainian Webb was very happy, the former running back. It appears that the players are happy with that. That doesn't always translate into success, but it may not translate to a mass exodus, is what is what it may do. Right? We're seeing 27 transfers out of Alabama. Now, that's a little higher than normal. They usually have a bunch, but only a couple of them mean anything. We'll see what happens with South Alabama moving forward. But I think it's a great opportunity for Major Applewhite to get that second chance. He had a little bit of success. He went to 2 bowl games following Tom Herman. And to remind everybody about that, right, it was basically Tom Herman first of all, I guess it was Jimbo. Then it was Tom Herman. And then LSU and Ed Orgeron. That worked out, and it didn't, right? I mean, they did get a national championship, but the program kind of bottomed out, although they still beat A&M. And now Brian Kelly's taken over, and now they're, kind of trophy winner and contender. But Tom Herman went to Texas. That did not work out at all. And now he's at FAU. So he's at FAU, and his offensive coordinator, Major Applewhite, now the new head coach at South Alabama. Again, I think it's a good hire, but you start going down, now the coaches in the West, right? The Will Hall and Butch Jones have the most seniority, right? They have 4 years. This is going to be their 4th year. Mike Desimo is second, I believe, with 3 years, right? You got a new coach at Troy. GJ Kinney's got 2. This will be just his 2nd year. ULM's got a new football coach. So there's not a whole lot of seniority in the Sun Belt West division. And guys don't last that long anyway, right? I mean, Arkansas State for a while, those guys kept on leaving. They would do well at Arkansas State. Hugh Freeze. Well, I guess Malzahn coach Arkansas State. Gus Malzahn. Hugh Freeze. Brian Harsin. Like nobody was, buying in Jonesboro. They all were renting. And so Kane Womack does 3 years for South Alabama. Billy Napier had 4 for the Cajuns. And we'll see what the Will Halls seem to be having everything going in the right direction. Certainly they're winning the offseason. Butch Jones turned Arkansas State around. GJ Kinney is off to a tremendous start. It's going to be very competitive in the Sun Belt West in 2024. And we'll see what kind of changes, because you really may not have a whole lot of changes, right? At South Alabama, if you're doing the Major Applewhite offense, whether he brings in an OC or not, and you're going to play, the 4-2-5 that Kane wanted to play with Corey Batoon. I presume we'll see if any of that changes here over the next couple of days, but there may not be quite the upheaval that we have seen at other places, because everybody else is getting a new head coach, right? Washington got a new head coach. Arizona got a new head coach. San Jose State's getting a new head coach. So Buffalo probably a new head coach. So seems to be more upheaval everywhere else. We'll see what happens in Mobile with South Alabama. But congratulations to Major Applewhite getting his second shot at being a head coach. we will once again attempt to get him on the show to discuss, how quickly these things happen. All right. And becoming another head coach. What went right the first time, what went wrong, what he can improve on, what he learned from Kane, what he likes about Mobile, because he could be here in Mobile for, 5-6 years. So we will see if we can track him down. All right, let's take a timeout. When we come back, big ball game on Wednesday night in lovely Boone, North Carolina. App State taking on Georgia State. I don't know how Georgia State lost this ball game, and we'll talk about that when we come back. Let me tell you about eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more, whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easier to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit. Only available to U.S. customers. All right. Now, let me tell you about LinkedIn. At the start of the new year, every small business owner is asking themselves the same question. What's the one move I can make that'll take my business to the next level in 2024? LinkedIn Jobs knows that your success all depends on the team you surround yourself with. That's why LinkedIn Jobs has created the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. Hiring is easy when you have that many quality candidates. So easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs number one in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn also knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and may not have the time or resources to hire. Thankfully, with LinkedIn, the process is intuitive, quick, and easy. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. We had 3 Sunbelt ball games, basketball-wise, on Wednesday night. And the highlight, maybe of the week, was App State and Georgia State. Georgia State may be the surprise of the season thus far. They were 3-15 in the Sun Belt last year, and they've already won 4 ball games this year. App State is 4-1 this year as well. In the first half, it was kind of like a 6-point lead. Georgia State would cut it down to 2. App State would get it back to 6. They pulled away and led at half 39-30, and the difference in the ball game were 3 3-pointers. That was the difference in the game. App State had hit 4 3-pointers. Georgia State had hit 1. It's a 9-point lead. That's the difference. When I say I don't know how Georgia State lost the ball game, Georgia State, I understand they were down 9 at half. They hit 9 3-pointers in the second half. App State didn't hit 1. I'm not sure how that happens. They hit 10 3-pointers, and App State hit 4. None in the second half. Georgia State was down 8-10 throughout the second half, and then they made a run, and they got it to 1 point. They got the deficit down to 1 point, and they couldn't get a stop, and they couldn't take the lead. They got it down to 55-54, and that was as close as they got. They would not get down. They would get as close as 3 points. They would not get, they couldn't get any closer. That's a good job. I'll tell you right now, that's a good job by App State, because that's a game that you could absolutely, go into the tank and lose. Again, I'm still trying to figure out how you lose a ball game when you hit 9 3-pointers in the second half. That's a lot. Like, that's a pretty good game. And I think they shot pretty well, but in the second half, they shot 9 for 20 from 3. They didn't shoot it well from 2, and that was the problem. They only made 4 2-pointers. Maybe that's where they lost it. They were 4 for 15 from 2. That's the problem. App State hit a few more free throws, but that's not really good. Spillers for App State had a big ball game, 23 points, 10 of 15 from the floor, 13 rebounds. He was outstanding. Tate had 15 points for App State. Taylor and Tucker each had 12 for Georgia State. As, again, a 76-68 victory for App State. It was a heck of a ball game. No doubt about it. But Georgia State made a run, couldn't quite overtake the Mountaineers. That's a nice win for the Mountaineers. All right, what was not a tight ball game were the Cajuns taking on Texas State. Cajuns beat Texas State 86-68. Cajuns are down a couple of players, or else some of these minutes may be even less. They only had 3 players play 30 or more minutes. This was a blowout. It was not nearly as close as this score would indicate. The Cajuns led 75-40. They were on fire for the first 30 minutes of the ball game. Texas State went 8 minutes in the first half not scoring, and they didn't come out scoring in the second half too much. They did finish up strong, hitting 9 of their last 11 field goals. I mean, think about it. They hit 25. Texas State hit 25 field goals total. 9 of them, they made 9 of their last 11. So they caught fire at the end, but this game was just not nearly that close. Cajuns now 3-3 in the Sun Belt, and they got a big ball game on Saturday against Mobile. I'm not sure if they're going to have a couple of players back. One's dealing with a concussion, and I think the other one's still sick. We'll see if they're back on Saturday. They do get an extra day, so they probably, I'm going to guess, coming back to Lafayette either tonight or tomorrow, and then won't leave until Friday to head over to Mobile, a straight shot, I-10, I-12, I-10. Let's see here. For the Cajuns, Kobe Julian had 18 points, grabbed 6 rebounds. Contingency had a nice little ball game, 11 points, 5 rebounds. In fact, Cajuns scored a bunch in double figures. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players in double figures. Folks had 13 and 10 assists. That's nice. Michael Thomas playing well. He had 8 points and 3 assists. Even Fields. Is that Landry Fields? London Fields. London Fields had 11 points and it's just 11 points. So he played well. So that's a nice win. And the Cajuns were looking at starting out 1-4, and now all of a sudden they're 3-3 with a chance to, on this road trip, make it 3 out of 4 with a win against South Alabama on Saturday. That's not going to be easy, but they got a chance to all of a sudden go from 1-3 to 4-3. That's a nice turnaround for Bob Marlin's club. All right. One more ball game to talk about. It's Dave Schultz, Lockdown Sunbelt, your team every day. This is a nice win for Southern Miss. They take down Arkansas State 69-66. 69-66. Andre Curbelo, and Victor Hart still not available. This is a ball game that ASU should not have lost. Southern Miss playing at home. Winning on the road is hard. We've talked about that, but they're missing 2 of their 3 best players, and they should not have lost this basketball game. Arkansas State scored 1 point in the final 3:12 of the game, and that was a free throw, obviously. That's going to be a tough pill to swallow for the Red Wolves. Good job by Southern Miss. Austin Crowley had 25 points. Very good from the free throw line. 9 of 11. And you had Ivory with 15 points and 8 rebounds. And I'm going to have to figure out how to say his name. Iowakar had 10 rebounds and 10 points. Caleb Fields had 16 points. Todd had 13 for Arkansas State. Let me see if I can remember how this went. I joined it, all right, watching multiple games tonight. I watched it was Southern Miss was up by 2, 60. Now I gotta have to look because they were up by 2 with like 10 seconds left to go, and it got a little crazy at the end. It was Crowley hit a shot, I thought. Yeah, 67-65. Arkansas State was fouled on a double team, and they missed the second free throw. Taron Todd misses the second free throw, so it's a 1-point game. The rebound, though, was gathered by Southern Miss, but the ref said he was out of bounds, which I don't think he was, unless the only way he may have been out of bounds, one foot was inbounds, and then I think maybe his other foot came down out of bounds before he passed it. But it looked to be a little confusion there. And Arkansas State got another chance, and I think the shot got blocked. And then a couple of free throws at the other end put the game away, and a 3-point shot by Todd was off the mark. So that's a very nice win for Southern Miss, and it's got to be a disappointing loss in a big way for Arkansas State. All right, let's take a timeout. We'll preview tonight's action on the hardwoods. It is Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Let me tell you about FanDuel. The NFL season has wrapped up, but there's still time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. The app is so easy to use. There's so many different ways to bet, like live same-game parlays. Find bets in the new Explore tab. Make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, the best way to find popular parlays, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Quickly, I forgot to mention the bowl game did not go well for Houston in Major Applewhite's second year. They took one on the chin to Army. This one would leave a mark. Army was pretty good that year. They finished up 11-2. They were really good. They took it on the chin in the Armed Forces Bowl, 70-14. Ouch. That leaves a mark. As Craig Stevenson said, in the SEC, we know there's usually multiple money guys. There's one money guy with Houston. Apparently Major was on the outs with Tillman Fertitta. Certainly 70-14 doesn't help that. But that is just one ball game. And, well, now Houston is on another coach, right? they're on another coach and going into the Big 12. So life happens fast. All right, let's check out the action coming up tonight in the Sun Belt. I will say this. We were talking about, let me see the way, I didn't go over the lines because they didn't come out when we needed them to, right? So the Georgia State ball game was 9. I would have taken Georgia State, would have barely covered on that one. The Cajuns, I don't know, did the Cajuns cover? Because they were up by a bunch and they won by 18. Oh my God, Texas State was favored in that ball game. Oh, that was easy money. And let's see here. I probably would have picked Arkansas State. Let's see what that is. I would, with no Curbelo and no Hart, I would have picked Arkansas State, and I would have lost 2.5. So could have gone 2-1. All right, so let's see what the action is coming up on a Thursday. You do have South Alabama hosting Troy. Troy 5-0 after starting the season 5-6. They're 5-0 in the Sun Belt. South Alabama is 2-3. And Troy, a 1.5 favorite. Here's the problem with South Alabama. they've had some bad losses. Okay. They've had some bad losses. They lost to Mobile, 83-74. They got blown out by Alabama, 102-46. And then they lost at home to Nichols, 102-97. That was a great, wasn't that like in double overtime? That was a crazy ball game. Okay. They actually hung tough at Maryland, 68-55. But then their Sunbelt losses aren't bad. They lost at home to App State. App State's pretty good. They lost to them in overtime, 91-84. That's not bad. That's not a bad loss. Disappointing, but not bad. They did lose to Georgia State. That game may have gotten away from them in the second half. It was a 42-40 ball game at half. And they did get blown out by James Madison. James Madison's pretty good, but then they go on the road and they beat Marshall shooting like 55% or something like that. So they shot 52%. So South Alabama has the potential. They can't let the games get away from them because they've been blown out. They don't really blow anybody out, but they can score if they can get more than one or two guys to put it in the bucket. I'm not sure if I would take South Alabama in this one. It's only 1.5. That tells you something. South Alabama's 2-3. Troy is 5-0. That line would tell me they're begging you to take Troy. like Troy, I don't think Troy should be a 10-point favorite, but they should probably be 3 or 4 point favorite. They're begging you to take Troy in this one. All right. I put it this way. I would not be surprised if South Alabama wins that ball game. It could be very good. All right. Old Dominion with the tough news this week that Jeff Jones stepped away for the season. We talked about that earlier in the week. They're 0-5. They're struggling. Maybe with a little, certainly don't want to say finality, but a clear message moving forward. Maybe that can take some of the, I don't know about pressure, but unknown away from them. Maybe they play a little bit better. They're 0-5. They're taking out Marshall. Marshall's only loss in conference was that game to South Alabama, whereas Marshall just wouldn't go away. That was a crazy ball game too. Marshall 4-1. ODU is a 1.5 favorite in that one. That's crazy. Sunbelt, they're 0-5 in the Sunbelt, 4-13 overall. They're a 1.5 favorite at home. That tells you how difficult it is to win on the road. Georgia Southern, they're 2-3. Did not play well the last time out. They're 2.5 point favorites at home against Coastal Carolina. Coastal Carolina is also 2-3. I would take Georgia Southern in that one. JMU, they've all of a sudden lost 2 out of 3. They have not played particularly well. They haven't played well in their last 4 ball games, and that includes the Cajuns ball game, which they won. They just have not shot the ball well. They are in a slump. They are taking on the slumping Monroe Warhawks. They're 0-5 in the conference. JMU is that's a big spread, 19.5. Probably would take JMU only because it's really tough to bet on an 0-5 Monroe team. But I would look for James Madison with the blowout. So we'll look for James Madison to win, Georgia Southern to win, Marshall to win, and I'll go all homer. I love myself some Scott Cross, but I'll take South Alabama in a minor upset at home. And then that would set up a really big ball game against the Cajuns. The winner gets to finish up the week with a winning record in the conference. If South Alabama wins, the winner of the South Alabama Cajuns game is now 4-3 instead of 3-4. So that's obviously a big difference. All right, thanks so much. I'm sure we'll get some, some earth-shattering news for tomorrow's episode. I do have the quarterback rankings, although that seems to have changed as well. In the West, I was going to do, let's rank the quarterbacks in the Sun Belt West. Let's rank the quarterbacks in the Sun Belt East, at least the ones that we think will be starting. And we'll see when we get to that. But that's probably what's coming up. Also, still trying to get these Sun Belt players, and we'll see if we can reach out to Jim Nagy, and he can tell you where the Sun Belt players are thought of in the draft. All right, and then you got 2 great running backs and some great defensive players. And Carter Bradley. So there's Rasheen Ali and Kamani Vidal. We'll see if we can track them down. All right. Thanks so much for tuning in to Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. We're over 1,100 subscribers. Thank you so much. Don't forget about the audio portion of the show, Apple Podcast or Spotify. Sincerely appreciate everyone's support. Thanks so much. I'm your host, Dave Schultz, and you've been watching Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day.